Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to be talking about the workflows roadmap, specifically tackling complex identity problems with workflows. And we'll be hearing a customer story from NTT Data who has tested the product. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. Do have to show you this safe harbor statement. Basically just says we're going to be talking about forward-looking concepts, and those things could change. We have a good lineup of speakers here for you today. The first one is myself. I am a senior product marketing manager at Okta, and I've worked very closely with workflows during my time here. Second is David Shackelford. He is director of product management and has worked specifically on workflows, so he's really been in the nitty-gritty of the product. And the third is Krish Venkatraman. He is a senior cloud services architect at Okta, and he has worked with NTT Data to implement the product and has worked with countless other customers to test the product as well. So he has lots of learnings to impart to you all. Okay. Here's a quick agenda. It's very simple. We'll be talking about our journey of focusing on automation as a company, the investments we've made thus far, and why they've brought us to the logical conclusion of workflows. Then we'll hear from NTT, an avid workflows tester and power user. We're really excited about what they're doing with workflows, and we think you will be too. And lastly, we'll look at where we're headed with workflows, what's next in both the short term and long term. And now I will pass it off to David to talk about our journey in automation up until now.
Thanks, Danielle. So to start out, I wanted to provide a little context on how Okta has been approaching identity automation over the years. So Okta's vision is to make it easy, simple, and secure for any organization to adopt any technology. But at the heart of this is being able to automate a growing number of applications. We've invested a lot here, and Lifecycle Management, a product we released a ways back, helps customers easily automate what we call joiner, mover, leaver workflows, as employees join, change state, and leave an organization. With just a few clicks, users can be created, updated, and deleted in downstream apps, which saves admins time and effort, ensures employee access to resources, and keeps everything secure. But what we've heard from customers is that they want more flexibility and customizability in lifecycle management. In some cases, customers need to build bespoke workflows to handle their unique business process. They need to add logic, timing, and multiple actions to their joiner, mover, leaver processes to match the way that their organizations work. And in other cases, customers simply need to do more within an application. For example, in addition to provisioning a base account in Box, IT might need to also set entitlements or folder shares, which are app-specific actions. And so over time, we've been investing more and more in this area. We continue to iterate our original lifecycle management product, but we've also added more products and features. Last year, we launched automations to provide lightweight automation of LCM scenarios like contractor suspension. We also launched hooks. Event hooks let developers subscribe to interesting Okta events and integrate them into their apps. Inline hooks are synchronous and let you customize Okta processes like user import, password import, token minting, and more. Now, if you were at our last Octane, you may have heard the announcement that we acquired Azuqua, an integration platform, to add more power and flexibility to Okta. Well, the team's been hard at work integrating that technology into our platform. So this Octane, as of yesterday, we officially launched Okta LCM Workflows, the next step in our identity automation journey. So what is Workflows? Put simply, it enables customers to automate identity-centric business processes without code. There's another session that goes much deeper into the product, including a live demo. But at a high level, a workflow can take any event in Okta or our ecosystem partners, apply additional logic and conditions, and then kick off actions in both Okta and downstream tools. For example, when a user is assigned an app, if they're in a particular group such as the EMEA sales team, you might assign them that territory and then also add them to their team Slack and even send a welcome message, all completely automatically. Now, what's really special about Workflows is that it's built to expand the set of people in an organization that can automate identity. To start with, It's built on an easy-to-use drag-and-drop interface that makes it simple to link together different apps and functions and easily understand what's going on. Second, it comes with pre-built connectors to top SaaS tools, as well as the ability to connect to any third-party API. And finally, you can apply advanced logic like loops, branching, and subflows to automate really any scenario that you can imagine. And the whole thing is built on top of the Okta Identity Cloud, so you don't have to worry about deployment, maintenance, or security. We're just coming out of our early access period where we saw a lot of interest and enthusiasm from customers. We've been working closely with our early customers, getting them up and running on all sorts of lifecycle management use cases, and getting some great feedback as well, which you can see a few examples of on the right. But one of our most exciting customers has been NTT Data, and so we're super excited to have Krish with us today to share what they've done with this platform as part of their global identity strategy. Krish?
Thank you, David. Hello, everyone. I'm very excited today to share the NTT Data workflow story. One of the problems initially NTT Data had was manual tickets for onboarding users across different subsidiary companies. This is not only a problem of NTT Data, probably for most of the companies, where they have to script all this lifecycle automation using custom code. This involves high maintenance. In the next slide, we are going to see the NTT Data challenges and solution. Here are some of the challenges we saw at NTT Data. They have multiple subsidiary companies, and all these companies have inconsistency in their lifecycle process. They have single O365 and Okta tenants where they cannot do delegated administration. Goal of the project is to provide centralized onboarding, offboarding process for all companies, support their initiative of splitting O365 tenants per company to provide delegated administration, and to support country-specific laws. Provide no-code experience to write this business process. Using workflows, we architected as below. Manage user lifecycle centrally with Okta, where all company user lifecycle are managed centrally using centralized workflow engine. Okta Hub acts as a central identity repository, which hosts all the user identities. Finally, we automate user onboarding, unique username creation, global unique identifier creation, manager notifications, and etc. using Okta workflows. More importantly, without any code. In the next slide, I'll go over the high-level architecture. At a high level, we created a central Okta instance, which we call as Okta Hub. All the users are onboarded here. Workflow is also hosted centrally, so we can support the lifecycle of the users using NTT Business Process. All the company HR systems are connected to the hub, so workflow can intervene and enrich the user profile. Finally, once the user is onboarded in the hub, we provision them to the individual spokes based on the company code. These Okta spokes are where end users log in for their day-to-day activity. Downstream provision to AD, O365, and manager notification happens at the spoke level. Let me explain a spoke onboarding in detail on the next slide. We have a EU hub where you use the SAP SuccessFactors HROAN connector to pull user data into the hub. SAP SuccessFactors is the HR system which is used by NTT Data today. For new users onboarding, we use the Okta inline hook to trigger the onboarding workflow, since the inline hook is synchronous workflow, which will respond to the call with enriched profile, such as unique username, email, etc. Once the user is onboarded in the hub successfully, we have group rules to trigger provisioning to downstream spoke using the org-to-org connector. Once the user is created in spoke successfully, workflow engine provisions them to respective Active Directory system, O365, etc., based on the company code. As O365 tenants split, workflow also helped them to integrate with Proofpoint to provision all their users in their GPod and OPod. And Proofpoint is mainly used as an Office 6-way mail routing system. Workflow finally completes the last milestone of notifying to manager with one-time AD password for the user. Similarly, Okta Event Hook is used to trigger workflows for all updates and deactivation of users. As David said, workflows has many app connectors. Here in the diagram, you can see a Google Excel file uploader, which is connected to Workflow Engine directly. Workflow reads the file from Google Sheets and processes the data. These were used to support companies which are using files to process HR data. In the next slide, I want to talk about a sample workflow. Okta Workflow Engine has main flows and subflows, which is called as child flows. Child flows are called from main flows to process a specific task. It can be a synchronous child flow, which returns a response, or a synchronous flow. In the above example, I have shown a synchronous child flow. NTT is big in consulting business, often user transfers across countries. We want the workflow to identify the user as existing user and reuse their identity. This is one of the core requirements of NTT, and also many companies have this problem today. The solution we arrived is to create a unique UID for each and every user we onboard in Okta Hub. This includes the existing users. We call it as Golden ID at NTT Data. This Golden ID is also written back to HR systems. In case of transfer, they can use the same data across their HR system, and Okta Hub repository can identify the user as an existing new user. When the above child flow is called from main onboarding flow, it receives the Golden ID as input. If it is available, we just reuse the Golden ID. Otherwise, the workflow generates a new Golden ID, which is a card that generates unique UID. And finally, this child flow returns a Golden ID to the requested main flow. I would suggest all of you to go through workflow sessions so you can understand how to write a workflow. Additionally, there is also online materials at learn.workflow.oktaprivy.com. On the next slide. Finally, to conclude NTT Data, we cradle to grave automation in complex environment, maintain a global brand while enabling subsidiaries to have individuality and nuance. Thank you for your time, and now I turn this over to Danielle.
All right, thanks so much, Krish. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of the workflows roadmap. So David and I are going to cover two topics here. First, I'll run you through the new use cases we're planning to support in the customer identity beta, which launches today. Yay. And then David will run you through the platform investments we're making to make it easier for you to build, manage, and maintain workflows at scale. Right, so our vision for workflows is that it can actually provide value across every Okta product and go far beyond lifecycle management. As you can see here, there's a lot on our mind when it comes to the future, but our first focus is going to be customer identity, and there are a few reasons for that. Over the years, workforce and customer identity have increasingly converged, as you may have heard before. You've probably certainly heard us talk about it in the past. Best-in-class enterprise companies have invested to support both types of users because organizations are increasingly seeing the problems included in both workforce and customer identity management as the same thing. And also, our customers have been overwhelmingly asking for SIAM. We've gotten great feedback during both our beta and early adopter programs, as well as concept testing with customer identity customers. Here you can see some of it. Some of the requests were allowing whitelisted customers, vendors, or partners in places like Citrix or Box. Also automating lead creation and management in CRMs like Salesforce, as well as a lightweight filtering and transformation, and lots of other requests, but these were just some of the examples. We want to do this in a way that marries the flexibility of workflows with best practices for specific identity use cases. And customer identity is big. There's a lot there. So we've narrowed it down to 4 specific use cases, and these are the ones that we'll be focusing on in the near term. The first one is lifecycle management. The second one is registration and login customization. And the third is privacy and consent management. The fourth is extending Okta without code. I want to be clear that while we're showing these use cases to you as examples, so I have a few more specific examples under each use case here, that there's so much you can do with this product. These are not meant to be prescriptive. You can basically use these as a jumping point for your imagination. But let's go each use case let's go through each use case I just mentioned and look at maybe an example that will help this crystallize in your head a bit more. So here we can see that in customer identity lifecycle management, one example could be checking to see if a vendor is on an approved whitelist when they register in a partner or a vendor portal, and then provisioning that account to downstream tools like SFDC, Salesforce, Box, and Office 365. And you can also do account cleanup if that vendor becomes inactive. Right. Under customizing login and registration, you can, let's say, customize login and registration on a banking website by ID proofing new users who sign up for deposit accounts, and then add them as a lead to a CRM and assign a local banker. You might want to ID proof someone as well on a car website where you're buying a car online and you need to provide a valid driver's license before you sign up. And as privacy regulations increase, you can also do a number of interesting things around privacy and consent management. If you watched the keynote, you saw a scenario in which we automated a consumer data download request with our partner DataGrail. Here you can see a separate example with OneTrust, which is a leader in the privacy and consent management space, where we're collecting consent during registration, logging that in Okta's Universal Directory, and using that information to add customers to the correct GDPR, CCPA compliant email lists in a marketing automation platform. Then we're logging the granular consent information in OneTrust to have a clear audit trail for regulators. And finally, we've heard a ton of demand around a more general platform capability to add more extensibility to Okta without code, allowing you to do things like lightweight transformation and filtering during in-flight Okta processes. This could apply to both workforce and customer identity. But for this customer identity example, if you wanted to send data from Okta into a third-party API that we haven't built an integration for that maybe needs a different format of data, you could use workflows to quickly transform the data instead of writing custom code, which you can see here. You could also maybe scrub data so you don't send the entire user profile, but just send a few fields. Or perhaps you want to generate unique IDs that don't include personally identifiable information. The possibilities are honestly endless, and again, this should be a jumping point for your imagination more than a prescriptive example. All right, last, the customer identity beta launches today, and we're looking for lots of excited customers to join in. So please visit this link if you're interested. We'll also show it again at the end, so don't worry about, furiously scribbling it down. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back off to David. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Danielle. So outside of new use cases, we're also investing in the Workflows platform, making improvements that help both our existing workforce customers as well as new personas and use cases in the future. And for this coming year, we're thinking about these investments in 3 rough buckets. Deepening our connector catalog, letting you do more with more apps. Providing more tools for customers to effectively build and manage flows at high scale and complexity. And helping our builders discover what's possible with workflows and be successful doing it. So let's start with connectors. Connectors are really central to any integration platform. One of the first questions we get from customers is, do you have the right connections to the tools I use? We've built a set of connectors to our top IT apps and expanded it based on feedback in beta in our early access program. And we continue to hear and address more requests as adoption grows. We're also building out an initial set of SIAM connectors to tools like Evident ID and DataGrail as we move into that area. And we're looking forward to learning more in the beta that Danielle mentioned. We've also seen a lot of demand for Active Directory, LDAP, and other on-premise connections. And so we're hoping to have that available early next year. But we also recognize that in the same way that the Okta integration network transitioned from entirely in-house integrations to more ecosystem-driven, we need to do the same to really drive the growth of our connector catalog and serve all the demand that we're seeing from customers. And so we're working on a connector builder, which actually uses our visual flow designer that Krish showed to construct new integrations, and then using the Okta integration network to let customers and partners submit and share these with their orgs and the wider world. This is great for customers because it means more integrations faster. It's great for software vendors who can now offer workflows capabilities to their Okta customers, and also helps our delivery partners who want to create custom integrations and reuse them across customers and use cases. So for our next area of investment, as we serve larger and larger enterprises, our customers are doing a lot with workflows. They're managing tens or hundreds of thousands of users, creating and managing large numbers of flows, and running critical business processes like provisioning on the platform. And what that means is they need the right tools to understand, manage, and troubleshoot everything going on. And so some of the investments here include better logging of workflows actions in system log, better version management and dev test prod workflows, and improved access control. So to go a little deeper into one of these, let's talk about logging and debugging. Workflows has some great ways to see how different flows execute from within the platform, but right now there's not really visibility back into the core Okta admin interface. And as admins run more and more of their identity processes and workflows, they need that visibility to understand everything that's going on. And so we'll be bringing specific workflows events back into the Okta system log so that an admin has a unified view of what's going on across the entire platform. And we'll also be making improvements to the way that workflows builders can see, debug, troubleshoot, and monitor performance of their flows. Finally, Workflows is a really flexible, open-ended platform, but that can be a little overwhelming for new builders. And one of the things we saw from our beta with NTT and other customers is that having a few great example flows for a use case can make a big difference getting up and running. And so we want to provide better tools to help builders understand what's possible and easily start using it. These are some very early looks at a catalog of common flows to help builders get up and running. For example, if you're trying to use workflows to generate, say, a lightweight report of important lifecycle events, like a list of all the deactivated users in a week, you could find one or more templates that implement a reference version of that flow that you can either use as is or further customize. And our plan is that it's not just for consumption, it's also a place where a builder can share out a flow so others can use it. When we were working with NTT during the Workflows beta, they told us that they were really excited about what they'd built and wanted to know how to share it with others. And we've gotten similar feedback from many of our customers that are excited about what they've achieved with automation and want to help each other out as part of a builder community. Okay, so we covered a lot there. So here's a summary of the roadmap in a single glance. Q1 was really all about GA, delivering the initial LCM Workflows product, launching our initial catalog of connectors, and spinning up production cells in both North America and EMEA. We've also made some investments in the Workflows onboarding process to make it easier for customers to get up and running quickly. Next quarter, we'll be continuing to develop in-house connectors as well as starting work on our native connector builder. We'll also have an early version of the flow catalog out to make it easier for builders to quickly implement common patterns. As we get into the back half of the year, we'll see more of those scaled flow management capabilities available, like consolidated logging and improved debugging. As we get into the back half of the year, we'll see more of those scaled flow management capabilities available, like consolidated logging and improved debugging. We'll also, of course, continue to develop new connectors and improve existing ones. And then as we look toward the future, we'll have on-premise connections available, advanced role-based access control, and compliance cells for using workflows in HIPAA or FedRAMP deployments. And we also plan on taking that initial flow catalog and really building out more of a formal community and marketplace to make it easier to share and engage around community-built flows and connections. And here's that entire roadmap at a single glance again. Okay, and that's all we have for you. We're around for questions, but just wanted to point out a few other sessions that may be valuable to you if you enjoyed this one or want to learn more about workflows. Arvel, a senior product manager on the Workflows team, is leading the Workflows LCM session, which is a great overview of the product and use cases, including a live demo and a customer story from Discount Tire. And if you'd like to go deeper on lifecycle management and our overall strategy there, I'd encourage you to go to George Kwan's lifecycle management session. And then finally, just wanted to mention again that our Workflows beta for customer identity use cases is launching today. So please sign up at that bit.ly link if interested. And with that, I think we are ready to move into questions.